Hey Francie, it's Luke Edmondson. Good to see you.
Hey Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great. I hear you're going to be the September speaker at Dallas PPA.
I am going to be this September speaker for Dallas PPA, and I'm super excited about being there.
That's so cool. I think it's going to be on September 10th. You're going to be coming and doing an evening program with us.
That is correct. I'm going to be there in the evening and then the next day for a full day workshop.
Oh, how cool. So on this evening workshop, what's it going to look like? Or not the workshop, but the program. What's it going to look like?
Well, we're going to predominantly focus on weddings, but as you know, as a wedding photographer, if you're a wedding photographer and you can shoot weddings, you can pretty much shoot anything.
Sure.
So even though we're focusing specifically on weddings, it's really not, you don't have to be a wedding photographer to come to the program. Because posing, we're going to talk about posing, we're going to talk about how to engage your audience, how to engage your client in a way that's different, and really try to discover what your style is of engagement, because I think that's an important aspect. Is we can go and learn from a lot of different people. What we
Sure.
really have to figure out what my style is. And so I'm going to give you some ideas that I have. And I always think of these meetings whenever you go for education, sort of like a buffet line where you got to pick and choose. There's tons of stuff. If you ate everything, you'd be just gorging yourself to death and not even enjoying any of the food. So you're going to have to pick and choose what's going to work for you in your style.
Yep.
And that's what I'm hoping that people are going to do, is they're going to figure out, oh, I can add that one thing to my skills toolbox, and that's going to help me with my clients.
When I go to a buffet, I always put all this food on my plate, and I finally get to the bacon, which makes me regret all the food I put on my plate and just wish I only had bacon.
Exactly. So sometimes you just have to stay with the bacon.
That's exactly right. That's right. The one thing you don't want to do is wake up with a belly full of regret.
Exactly. And so, I've been doing this for, back in the business for the last 10 years, and I'm a voracious learner. And so I kind of taken everything I've learned from everybody else and put it into my own style. And then I'm going to share that, because that's what I love doing, is sharing with everybody about
Sure.
how they can make their business better, because that's what we're all about. We're all about just helping each other make our business better.
Sure. And so I know that you've spoken at Texas School before and done programs there. I'm sure you've spoken many other places that aren't even on my radar. But not only have you been doing this for 10 years, but you also have a lot of experience helping educate photographers and helping them grow.
Yeah, I speak all over the country. I do about 25 speaking engagements a year. And next year I don't think I'm supposed to tell this yet, but I'll be back at Texas School next year doing something not wedding related, which I'm very excited about. So you guys can look forward to that.
There you go.
And so I speak on weddings, but I also speak on other topics as well. So I kind of weave that into everything, because for me, working with clients, whether it's a bride or a tween or a high school senior, it's all about that relationship that you have with the client.
Sure.
Getting that relationship is really key. And how do we do that in a really short amount of time? Because we don't have hours and days to really get to know our clients. So
Yes.
how do we do that in a way that and make them feel and look their best?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a big challenge, because we want them to love their photos and not to go, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't had that, or ugh. And being a plus size girl, trust me, there is a bunch of stuff that I don't want people doing for me. Don't shoot from a low angle. Don't shoot from, a little bit higher, not a ton higher, but just a little bit.
Sure.
Just give me the right lighting. Being older now, I also love that flat butterfly lighting. Is always really nice. I mean, just doing things so that people look their absolute best. And I think that at the essence of what we do as photographers, that's what it's all about. It's about creating experience for someone, and then having them love that experience and document where they are at that moment in time in their life. No matter what their age is or their size, or where they are in their life, it makes a big difference. So that's what
makes all the difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why we do what we do.
So if I had to just kind of guess on some of these things that you're going to be talking about, but they're going to be techniques to create stunning images, perhaps?
Yes, I think that there's a combination between technique. I think technique is really critical. And on the night of, we're really going to talk more about connection with people than we are specific technique. We're going to get into technique a little bit, but really what we're going to talk about is the things that we oftentimes as photographers don't talk about. And that's the connection and how do I build rapport? And what do I do so that I can evoke some really nice emotion from somebody? What do I do to make that connection better? And we can do that a little bit with the technique part, but mainly this is about how I perceive myself as a photographer and then how I relate to other people and then what I can do to bring forth that. And then we're going to, touch on some other little things as well. Obviously you can't do all that and not have technique. So we're going to do a little bit of technique. But the second day is going to be really focusing on the nitty gritties.
So the second day is more of a hands-on workshop. It's going to be an all-day workshop on September 11th. And I believe that the cost is about $125. It'll be at Camera Ready.
That's correct.
Camera Ready Studios. People at DPPA have done this many times before going there. And if you haven't been there, you're going to love the facility. It's a great place. And for that, you're going to be, as you say, doing more of the nitty-gritty. So it's going to be things like dynamic posing.
It's really the whole day. I've had so many people ask me to do a full day workshop on posing. They want to do posing. And so I'm going to break it down from every aspect, from dynamic posing to static posing, down to posing feet and hands and shoulders and chins. And so it's going to be very, very technical. So
even groups?
Really, yes, groups as well. And how to take a small group and then add on to that group and look at how to create dynamic large groups. One of the things I've gotten really, really worked on is how to pose really large groups. And there is a formula for it. I am all about formula and duplication and not reinventing yourself every single time when it comes to these things. And so that's really what I'm going to be sharing is every formula that I have. And the thing that's a little bit difficult, can be challenging, is not every formula works on every client.
Sure.
Just because it looks good just because it looks good on one doesn't mean it'll look good on the other. The other thing that I really want to work on with everybody is how do you work with clients that are different sizes? So if you have plus size people or someone who's plus size and someone who's not, how do we relate to that? If you're working with a family, mom needs to be in the best light and the best position because she's the one that's going to be the one that's going to make the final decision. And she's the one that's going to have that pocketbook. So how do we make her look good and then put everyone around her looking amazing? And then all of a sudden she's going to want that huge portrait.
Absolutely.
Because that's my ultimate goal. Whenever I'm shooting, whether it's a wedding or whether it is a high school senior or a tween, it doesn't matter what it is. I sell two products. I sell albums and I sell wall art. I don't sell anything else. And so my goal is to get a large piece of wall art and for them to love enough of their images that they purchase an album.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to be talking about that. And I'm going to show you what not to do as well. Because I think this is important to know. It's like, oh, yeah, I've done that before.
Sure.
Because I've made so many mistakes. And I still make mistakes. That's the whole thing. I mean, I can come home after shoot and go, oh, that's not good. And I think that's another part of it is we have to be willing to analyze our own work and to look at it and go, ooh, that was a mess up. Okay, I want to make sure I don't do that again. And that's how we learn, is by analyzing and looking at our own work. So I'm going to show you some stuff that I've done in the past that's a complete failure, so that everybody can know, hey, we're all in this together. I'm not perfect. Those beautiful images don't come just because every single one out of the camera looks that way, because that's just not the truth. It is a process to get there. And so that's what we're going to do on the second day. And we're going to talk about groups and wedding parties and, posing girls, posing boys. If you have a large family that has a bunch of boys together, you can put them and you can use these same techniques with families that you would use for wedding parties. There's, yes, it's related to weddings, but it works with everybody.
Wedding is the content or the subject matter, let's say, or the genre, but ultimately it's about people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what should people consider bringing to the workshop? Should they bring their camera? Should they bring a computer? Are you going to do any post-production stuff? Is it primarily
We're
shooting?
not going to do any post production, so you don't need a computer, but you do need a camera. And I'm going to be using the Stella lights,
Uh-huh.
which are constant lights, which will be great because we're not going to have to spend a ton of time on technique for lighting, but you're going to be able to see how it's lit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to be using the Stella lights. And the great thing about that is you'll be able to stand back and photograph it exactly as it's seen and get some really nice images for you to be able to use as a basically as a way to go, oh yeah, I need to remember this, to flip through it so you know, oh yeah, remember to do this and remember to do that.
Yep.
So it'll be a good way for you to capture things, and because it's all going to be constant light, you'll be all set to be able to get that. So if you want to do it with your cell phone, you can do it with your cell phone, but you have to have a way to capture that so that you have that for your own learning post the workshop.
Sure. Now, when you talk about coming back home and reviewing your work and how important it is and things like that, many people are hopefully aware, but they may not be, but you've been involved in print competition for a long time. Has print competition contributed to that ability to self-analyze?
Oh, absolutely. I think my work dramatically changed when I started doing print competition. I was an epic failure to begin with, and it was absolutely soul-wrenching. And because when people enter print competition, and print competition is about to start with PPA here in just a couple of days.
Yep.
People don't enter print competition expecting to get a 75.
Nope.
They don't enter print competition expecting to get a 78 or 79. Everyone who enters expects to get a merit or above, including myself. And when I first started entering, oh my gosh, it was really difficult because I just could not understand what was happening. And then I really started getting feedback from people who were honest with me, because I found a lot of people go, oh yeah, that's great, or you get 10,000 likes on Facebook, or you have 10,000 fans on Instagram, and that's all great. But when it comes to your peers giving you feedback, it's a whole nother scenario. And then I really started listening, and I really started applying, and I really started growing as a photographer to learn what it is to look for in print competition. And it's made all the difference in the world. And I continue to enter, and I think it's fabulous. I think WPPI's competition's great. PPA's competition's great. Any place you can go and get feedback from your peers is a great way to learn, but it is not necessarily fun. It's great when you're winning. It's awesome.
I was going to say, come on. When you win a GIA, it's awesome. A fun thing.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. However, the road to get there is not always an easy one.
Sure.
And for some people, it is super easy. Some people just have a gift for it. For me, it was very painful. It was a process, but it was well worth it. And I'm still growing through that process and really trying to stretch myself creatively and artistically in that manner. So we'll see how we do this time. I've got a couple of really interesting images in PPA this time. And my thought process on it is judges are going to really, really love it, or they're going to really, really hate it, but there's not going to be any in between.
Sure.
And that's okay.
And what some people may or may not know is you've even had the privileged opportunity to represent the USA in the World Cup. So.
Yes, I have been. I've represented the World Cup 3 times, which has been awesome. It's an amazing experience, and the World Cup is one of the things I love about the World Cup. And if anybody's out there and hasn't gone and Googled photographic World Cup, you need to, because it is images from around the world, and it is incredibly humbling.
Sure.
Because you really realize how insignificant you are as a photographer in relationship to the whole of the world.
Yep.
And how there's some images I look at and I go, oh my gosh, I wish I just want to be that creative. I just want to be that amazing to be able to produce something fabulous. And I think that that's not so much of a it's not a jealousy, it's a longing, and then it's an
admiration.
Motivator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a motivator to go, okay, what can I do to push myself creatively
Yep.
out of the bounds. And I have, the last couple of years, I've really been working on that process to push myself creatively and to produce things that are off the wall and really different, and things that I love that are not necessarily client based. They're personal projects. And I find that when you get into personal projects, that's when your creativity starts to really bloom.
Yep.
Because you're not limited by what your client wants you to do. You're only limited by your own creativity.
Yep.
Which is, but I love my clients because they pay for me to be able to do that.
Sure. And the creativity can find its way back into the client work. It's not mutually exclusive, but you're right. Most people don't start off going, I want Francie the artist, they want Francie the photographer.
Yes.
And then they come to admire the art, and then they say, we want you now to create art for us.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly how it happens. I have clients who come back around and commission pieces from me, that have been wedding clients or family clients for me. And they come back around and they say, I need a piece of art, and I'm wondering if you can create something for me. And so we can do a collaboration, and then I create art for them that they get to hang in their homes, which is really fun and very, very gratifying. If I could do that all day long and nothing else, I would totally do that. But unfortunately, I haven't figured out exactly a way to do that yet.
I'm working on it. Are you saying that you would rather create art all day long instead of watching your son playing baseball?
Oh, yeah. That'd be a tough one.
Okay.
I do enjoy watching my son play baseball.
About half and half, let's say.
Yeah. He's only got about 3 more years left in school, so we're spending time watching him grow up. And boy, I'm telling you, it went by like that.
Yep.
I got, just yesterday he was a little baby, and now he's about to start driving. So.
Well, I dropped my daughter off at kindergarten yesterday for her first day, so that was fun.
I saw that, and you know what? The years go by really quickly. You got to just savor every moment with them.
Sure.
Because it's like, oh my gosh, I've got 3 years till he's gone, and I was like, oh, that's quick.
Well, I reminded her that kindergarten was the hardest 4 years of my life, and so I hope she does well and improves on my past performance.
Yeah. Well, she's adorable, and she's lucky to have you and your wife as her parents, because she is absolutely adorable.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, let's just recap real quick. So September 10th is going to be your evening talk, and people can register for that just like a normal monthly meeting. You'll be driving up from Houston to come join us in Dallas. And then on September 11th is when the workshop will be, the all-day workshop. They need to bring a camera or something to record with, could even be a phone. And that's where you're going to be able to dive much more into the nitty-gritty of things with people, and really work with them hands-on and be able to show them. You talked about using the Stella lights, so to be continuous lights makes it really easy for them to be able to see what you're talking about.
Exactly. And I'm not going to just be doing it. I'm going to be doing it, and then they're going to have an opportunity to do it as well. So it's going to be very, very hands-on. I want people to know that it's just not about watching me do something.
Right.
It's about them getting up there and actually learning through experiencing it. So it's going to be very, very hands-on the second day.
That's awesome. Well, I can't wait to see you when you're here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys next month in Dallas.
Awesome. Bye.
Okay. Bye.